Welcome to my review. We are going to be going over the morning time that I did with my kids this year. I did Morning Time Volume 2 from Brighter Day Press. We've done the first one last year, and it was such a great fit. It is a great time. It's just enough time in the morning to get them some Bible time in. Perfect time to get Bible time in. It's a perfect time to, let me get to the first example of it. We have 3 terms, and you study some composers. We could study Antonio Vivaldi in the first term, Handel in the second, and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart in the third. That's where we're finishing up right now. The books that we have, we of course read the Bible. We also use Wonderful Ancient Psalms, Ever New. So we went through the Psalms this year. I did use it half the time, and then half the time I just would read the Psalms just for time's sake for our school day. We did read I Vivaldi. We were not able to find, I think that one I did read to the kids. Antonio Vivaldi, one of them, we read a version of Vivaldi's story, I believe, on YouTube. And Katie and the Impressionist, that one I believe we watched on YouTube as well. And Renoir. Then we had the choice of these books. I chose Charlotte's Web because the kids had not read it, and I loved it as a kid. We were also reading that with our history at the time, which we did Sunlight History. Which I'll have that review on a different day, but we did read the books list from Sunlight's history this year that we read along. So these are the books that we read that were from the Sunlight list, and some of them overlapped. Like the Charlotte's Web was one that overlapped with them, and also Happy Times and Noisy Village, I believe, also overlapped as an option to read with the kids. We also read 2 missionary books that were great. We read about George Mueller, The Guardian of Bristol's Orphans by Janet and Geoff Benj. And we also read let's see, where's the other one? Gladys Allward, The Adventure of a Lifetime by Janet and George Benj. That was really, really good. So I love that they mix nice, fun read-alouds along with read-alouds that have talk all about the missionaries. So again, the first term was about creation, and in that, they have a Psalm 1 that we memorized. We read through it every day. We didn't fully memorize this one, but last year, some of the excerpts we were actually able to memorize, which was really awesome to see with my now 8-year-old. And then this is how a week looks. So we did our Bible reading. It's a little passage from Psalms, and then they had to talk about it in the Wonderful Book. And this is what the Wonderful Book looked like. And then we would have a prayer that they would always have, which was wonderful. It changes every week, just kind of guide the lesson. Then we would have the memory verse that we would just start working on part of this. It would be followed by a hymn that we could read that changed every few weeks or so. I'm trying to think how many weeks it was. It's 4, I think it might be every 4 weeks, it looks like. It'll change to another hymn, which I would just play while they got ready and did their writing practice, just printing practice, or handwriting for my 3rd grader. They would also have New City Catechism that I use the app, and you can go through the questions, and it has a song that these kids sang for the answer. We'd also have a composer study time once a week, and then they would have an artist study, which would be reading the book for this one, it looks like, for this week. And there'd be a poem at the end of the week, like this one was The Use of Flowers. But on other weeks, when they had a picture, they would have the picture right there for them to study on that day. So instead of reading the book, it was that. And sometimes they switch off and introduce the artist through a book, just like they do for the composers. Sometimes it's their music, and sometimes it's part of a book talking about the composers. Then you also would have time to do your read aloud, which is the one that you would choose. And it has it nicely right here where you can have one book or the other, and it kind of gives you a pace if you wanted to go that way, or you can just read a chapter every school day. Overall, the morning time has been excellent. I've really loved it for starting our school days with my kids. And now in the fall, we'll be adding a 3rd child, the one that's in the background yelling, that has just really made it be a really nice time to collect ourselves in the morning. On Fridays, we would have a shorter day, so we'd have the morning time, and then we'd have a cup of tea and some kind of snack that we would make, which has just been really nice to have. Now for the books, these are the books that were with Sunlight that we read as our read aloud sometimes as well. So I would read our read aloud suggested from the morning time, and then I would usually read a chapter of one of the other ones that we were working on as we were going through Sunlight's books. We did read through Sunlight. This is just a short part. We started with doing Sunlight. This one was the Ancient Times, and it was great for the books. I loved that, but we did go a little bit quickly through that. So we'll go from there next time. But these are the books that we went through in both. But since I did read it for my morning time, and that's what this video is more about, we'll stay focused on that. So these books were fantastic. The kids really loved every one of them for different reasons. This one, they got to learn about owls and the funny personalities the owls had up in Ohio Valley. Then we had the year Miss Agnes was up in Alaska, and how people taught differently and how not all kids had different, not all of them had the same experiences back then when they were so far away from a regular city. Then we had the Usborne Greek myths, which was all of the ancient myths. They were nice and short. These ones were kind of shortened ones, but they were great. The kids really liked them. And then they loved Little Parrot, learning about a little boy in China and how things were, how they even had their hair cut differently for different reasons for the families. Homer Price was great. It was a nice little detective one where he just always was able to figure things out and be in the right place at the right time for a bunch of little stories. It's not really one full story. It's a bunch of kind of different stories about this kid Homer in his town, which was just really fun. The Detectives in Togas was a favorite of my eight-year-old. She just wanted to find out what was next. So a lot of, wait, can we read one more chapter? And they kept on trying to figure out who this guy in the mask is on this picture. And it is just a great story, all set in ancient Rome. And then Happy Times in Noisy Village was awesome. We were able to read this and also use the Christmas time for a Christmas morning time that we had, or we did some Christmas. That was also from, I believe, Brighter Day Press as well. So we read through that and got to do the Christmas story from this book then. And it's just a story about a bunch of Swedish immigrant families that lived on a farm, and they all lived nearby each other. And they had all sorts of stories and fun adventures that they got into. Just like sweet, classic literature. And then we had Charlotte's Web, which, I mean, everyone loves this. These kids loved it. They loved learning about it and about this pig who just was an extraordinary pig. And his friend, the spider Charlotte, which my daughter has the same first name, so she absolutely loved that. And then Louis Lowry did Goony Bird Green. We read that just recently. It was a very quick read, just about a girl who knows how to tell stories. So it really teaches storytelling in a really fun way. With all the remember suddenly is how you make it exciting. So that was a really fun read. Super short, but the kids loved it. They kind of wish there was another one, but I don't think there is. So that is how our morning time looks. And it went well. I will continue to go on to the volume 3 next year, and I'm keeping it. I always you can buy it where you print it, or you can at BrighterDayPress.com, or you can also buy it digitally and print it, or you can buy it and have it bound for you. Like what I did the printing before, but this time I decided to have it printed because I don't have the best luck when it comes to my printer. So it comes off with the ink, sometimes great, sometimes not. So I wanted to make sure the pictures came out the right way. So I just ordered it. And it was really well printed out and very clear. I just really, really enjoyed this and the memories it brings. So we are almost done with our school year because we do start a little earlier in our homeschool. And they also have suggestions at the back for Christmas time books and additional read alouds. Let's say you've read them before and you want to go through this again. I will probably go through the third one. And I think there's only 3 morning times through Brighter Day Press right now. And so I'll probably just go through it again and go through the cycle because it's just such a nice thing, and just change the read alouds. So that's what I would suggest. So hopefully this helps you guys with morning time, finding a nice rhythm, which I love that was able to happen through this. So there's also a nice little letter by the creator kind of introducing everything. This is Whitney and her family, and she is the sweetest person. I followed her on Instagram and heard about Brighter Day Press through her, because she used to just book calendars, and then she started doing this with her husband, and it's just fantastic. I'm such a gift, and I'm so blessed by their decision to start making this into a business. So I hope that you guys can support them and that this will just really bless your homeschool day, starting it on the right rhythm. Thanks so much for listening.